All the clips I'll play, I'll try to keep them under 3 minutes long. The white man's ice is colder. A few examples of what that means. White is right. I only date white women because white women don't yell at their men in public. But when you show me examples that white women do yell at their men in public, I'll say, yeah, but they don't do it as much as black women do it. The white man's ice is colder is why the most academically or athletically sought after black high school graduates will opt to go to a predominantly white institution as opposed to going to an HBCU. They would choose to go to Harvard instead of Howard. They would choose to go to Ole Miss instead of Mississippi Valley, the HBCU that the greatest wide receiver of all time, Jerry Rice, went to. And there are black people who claim to have a problem with that mindset. They pretend that they don't have the same mentality. I'll show you that the ones who fake complain about this concept are really just like the people they'll classify as suffering from self-hatred. I'll show you what indeed does make the white man's ice actually colder. The first example I'll play is of one of the premier believers that the white man's ice is colder, Crystalline Carrison. She's responding to someone who she says sent her an email about a white man who called his black girlfriend a nigger.
To a point. It's okay. Even if it's fake, I'm getting to a point here. So don't get all upset. Don't get all upset with me. We know the aim of this. So what he was trying to tell me was that I'm being one-sided. I'm being one-sided about, hi Lord Tavik, about how I report interracial relationships. That, I don't post the bad things, the swirling gone wrong. And he's right, because here's the thing. If I'm going to report that, then I'm going to have to report the other side. And if you want things to be fair, and this time I'm going to be fair, okay? And I'm going to show you why you really don't want me to be fair, okay? So this one white guy does this thing. So, but in an effort to be fair and balanced, because this is what I asked him. I said, so if I'm going to report on this one guy, then I'm going to have to report on all the things that black women do. Because so according to your logic, if one white guy does all of these, did all of these bad things, then if black men do anything to harm black women, then they shouldn't be dating them either, right? So if one white guy does something horrible to the black woman he's dating, that means that all of us should never date white men or any other race of men because of this one thing that he did. So if we're basing that on that logic that because this one time it was a disaster, if we're going to use that logic, then let's just extend the logic because, we want to be fair and balanced, right? So we need to be fair and balanced, right? Because, the one white guy, or the handful of white men who get with black women to be abusive should mean that we should not date them, right? So if there's a handful of black men who do things to black women, or maybe even more than a handful, or maybe even like a big chunk, then we shouldn't be dating them either. So what you're seeing right here in front of you is the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault. African American women and sexual assault. Let's go over these facts. African American girls and women 12 years old and older experience higher rates of rape and sexual assault than white, Asian, and Latina girls and women from 2005 to 2010. And this is not some ranting Google stat on an obscure website. This is the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics.
Tell her what white people do, and she'll tell you what black people do. And heard how she kept trying to make it out to be that one white guy. But with black men, she made it into a handful and even a chunk. I did a video years ago asking people, How could you have a problem with her mindset when you too see white people as the standard we should try to meet and maybe even surpass?
Leah says, I look at my parents, live better than we do. Black people need to stop with this middle class crap. We are poor. I don't know. I mean, some of us, some of us are middle class, some are poor, but middle class black people are way behind middle class white people. We are at least 2 generations behind white families when it comes to wealth, when it comes to family wealth. And we are forever playing catch up. And that's why it's easy, like people like Jay Morrison, to take advantage of us.
That was Reverend Gerald Palmer. You heard his response to the person in his chat who didn't believe in a black middle class. And it was almost natural, almost instinctive for Gerald to categorize our situation according to what white people have. And the problem, playing catch up, because the white man's ice is indeed colder.
Now you ask me, well, I've seen white people say, well, Yvette, Boyce shared his platform with you. No, Boyce needed me on his platform, and that's why he asked me to be there. Please don't get it twisted. I helped build that platform. I was working for free. And then I got $150 a month, then I got $200 a month, which is $800 a month. This is for full-time work, 40 hours a week work, 8 to 10 articles a day, right? And I then started doing YouTube videos. Put up the clip. Put up that clip. You see that clip right there? That's me. That's on Voice's platform. That's over 100,000 views. That's real money. That's real money. I didn't get any of that money. I didn't ask for any of that money. I was trying to build a media. I was trying to build a media hub that dealt with black politics. That sounds an awful lot like charity. It was charity. And he said he don't take charity. My not getting paid or getting paid a little bit of nothing for years was charity. How dare you say you don't accept charity? My work was charity to you because I was believing in a cause. I mean, there was times when we paid workers who weren't even American. They were in Singapore for like $5 an article. How does that, as a black business, benefit you? Well, real businesses, I'll be honest, real businesses pay their employees all the time, and they pay themselves a living wage. All the time. I'm sure you got paid consistently. No. Like somebody asked me, like, the reason, why did you stop working with Boyce? Because he stopped paying me. I mean, you didn't even tell me that you stopped paying me. I had to hunt down your assistant. Who he wasn't paying, I suspect. Probably. But then when I hunted down her and I said, hey, I didn't get paid this month, $1,200 a month. What can you do with $1,200 a month working full time? That's what I was getting paid. And I hunted her and I said, hey, I didn't get paid this month. And she said, we ain't got no money. You're not thinking about me. You're not thinking about what that means in my life. You're not thinking about what that means in my life in terms of what I got to do, in terms of my responsibility, in terms of my life, what rent I might have to pay. I tell my friends all the time. I tell Army all the time. Listen, if it was not for my friends and partners and family, I wouldn't be here now even talking to you because I didn't get paid. I worked with Boyce for 5 years. I didn't get paid no real money. The last time I got paid real money was when I was working for white people.
That was Yvette Carnell on whether or not she's making real money and how it was based on what white people are paying. And I don't need to elaborate any further on that with her because we're hearing how the white man's ice has been made colder and the mentality that keeps it colder. Now the next clip is of a dude who, when he popped up on the scene, he was so pro-black that the people on YouTube gave him the name Pro-Black Chris. The white man controls everything. We have no power here. The kind of pro-black that's all too common. He was being interviewed and was asked a question because he was at it with this black woman named Jamila. He used to always talk about how much of a bad mother she was. And he was also a fan of Tommy Sotomayor, whose shtick is to describe black women as the worst stewards of children. But Pro-Black Chris was asked a question.
I'm listening, man.
Yeah, and I just can't stomach her, man. Every time I see her talk, I'm like, I remember a mama just like you because now my mom, when I was growing up, my mom was good, but when I look at it and I compare her to like let's say Leave It to Beaver's mom, Mrs. Cleaver. Let's say she's the pinnacle of motherhood. Pleasant, nice, pick the right man to have children with, and all of that.
Hold on, Larry Winston, I'm unblocking you right now. Go ahead.
What was that? My mother doesn't measure up to the best moms, but when it comes to a specific sector of mothers, which would be my locale and those in my neighborhood, which would be the equivalent to the short bus, you know what I'm saying? My mother was better than everybody that was on the short bus. But when it comes to the league of mothers, as a man, I can honestly say that, she doesn't she wouldn't play for the NBA of moms. You know what I'm saying?
Barbara Billingsley, he said, the one who is all this pro-blackness, chose as his model mom the whitest white woman in the United States of America as his ideal mother. He didn't pick Esther Roll, Florida, from Good Times. He didn't pick Mama Curtis from That's My Mama. He picked Leave It to Beaver's mom. We're seeing why the white man's ice is indeed colder. A lot of the Black Power people think that same way. And this is why there has been no creation of a black basketball league, or why the days of the Chitlin circuit are long gone and maybe never to return. This is why black people are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram instead of being on a black website. This next clip is from Taz, and he was questioning the authenticity of Grandmaster Jay, who went out there to protest with guns out. Taz made several statements like the one I'm about to play, but here's one version of it.
Coming down a few different things, and would y'all think we can march up and down the street with high-powered rifles now? You know what I'm saying? Y'all niggas they done convinced y'all that you can march down the street with a high-powered rifle while at the same time making the argument that black people are mistreated in America. You got to pick a side, my nigga. You don't get to run up on somebody with the Second Amendment and say, look, I'm exercising my right as I go against America. We'll take Texas.
Heard that? You heard him. Mr. Black First, he calls himself, though. Hey, what are you doing out there proving to people that we're not slaves? What's the matter with you, Grandmaster Jay? Boss might see us not in our place. You heard him. Angry that black people got rights in America. Why the white man's ice is colder. Embracing the identity of a subordinate.
Kyle Rittenhouse, before he can ever get to trial, has already gotten a nod from the White House. And all I can say is you're crazy if you think that doesn't mean anything. If you think that Donald Trump or his children or someone in that high official capacity does not have the power to make you innocent by speaking it into existence, well, you don't know America. There's no way that Kyle Rittenhouse should have ever gotten any positive words or positive propaganda from that high. And it's not just him, it's the Trump supporters. Donald Trump generally will support his base no matter what. I mean, no matter what they do, it don't even matter. Like, because it's okay for Trump supporters to be criminals. Trump Jr. defending the Kenosha shooter, huh? Wow. So, Kyle Rittenhouse is getting some protection from on high. It don't really get much higher than Trump Jr. To say that he was just a 17-year-old making a mistake, I wish we could do that for each other. You know, we throw away each other almost immediately. There are no second chances. There's nothing about, well, you were just young.
Mr. Black only. Black first. Man said that he wished we could be like white people who will even blindly support ill behavior. You heard him say that Kyle needed to be dealt with, but still said that we should be as immoral as those who support him. Taz, like many other Black Power people, would like for our morality and love for each other to be based on how white people treat each other. That sounds white first to me, not black first. And I tell people all the time that the Black Power people view the white man's ICE as being colder, just like the crystalline kerosene types. But you can't detect it because it's masked, it's veiled behind that black empowerment talk.
I mean, some of these excuses for not supporting the protests and questioning the protests just, they don't pass scrutiny. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, at some point, I hope that somebody get the balls to question me about these videos, because these people didn't care nothing about what happened to other groups of people. In fact, they would use that to say we don't need to worry about them. Let's not talk about white people. We ain't talking about Latinos. We ain't talking about Asians. But then when it's time to talk about Asians, you're uplifting them. When it's time to talk about immigrants, you're talking about them in a way in which we have to view them as underneath them now. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of this was ever about fighting the system back. It was always about being a victim of everybody.
But they have the nerve, the gall, to complain about other black people putting non-blacks over us, while they too see us as inferiors to others. They even refer to white people as the white supremacy here in the dominant society, the privileged class even. You know, the ones who parade and prance themselves around as being opposed to the status quo. They are like-minded with the slaves who had to look up at the big plantation house and the people who lived in it to get an idea of what it means to be free or to be a human being. This mindset is of no use to us. So y'all really need to stop fronting on white people like you genuinely have a problem.
Bow your heads! We give thanks to you, Simos, for the fruit of the land.